you have ever met someone that no matter what you do, you just cannot get along with them? Anybody ever meet someone like that in their life? A few of us may have been married to those people. I knew Thomas's hand went up rather quickly there. We've heard the stories. Right? What if there was a way that you could figure out a little bit more about who you are and who other people are to help you build relationships with those other people? Would that be something you'd be interested in doing?
Yeah.
Well, amazingly, there are those tools. They're called psychological tests. There's a couple of main types of psychological tests. You can either test for traits or you can test for types. The difference between the two, if you're going to test for traits, it's measuring how much of a specific thing you have in your body. We go to the doctor, we get tested for cholesterol. We know how much cholesterol we have. It goes against the norm. We know if we're in the normal range. We know if we're abnormal. We know if we're about to die. Traits are somewhat similar. You can have too much of a trait in your body. You can have too little of a trait in your body. You can be too aggressive. You can be too reserved. You can be too outgoing. You can be too controlling. You can be not controlling enough. You can be not outgoing enough. A trait measures specific parts of your characteristics against a midpoint, pulls out that old bell curve we all learned back in high school, and tells you where are you compared to the population. Probably the most famous of all the trait-based tests is DISC. Anyone ever see DISC before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, seen that.
Decisiveness, the D. Influence, the I. Steadiness, the S. Compliance, the C. Famous, and dare I say, completely overrated. And here's why. DISC tells you you have a dominant personality. Well, that's great. But where? Where's the context? Is it here in Toastmasters? Is it in your marriage? You have a dominant personality at the DMV. Where are you dominant? It doesn't tell you where. It just says you have this thing. Great. Where? Because how many of us are the same way everywhere we go? Oh, wait, do all of us act differently in different situations based upon the social cues that are out there? DISC, unfortunately, doesn't allow us to do that. DISC says we're the same everywhere. There is a second and more beneficial type of test. It's called a type-based test. Anyone ever hear of Myers-Briggs? Myers-Briggs helps you to decipher your personality based upon 4 continuums, where you have to make a choice between 2 psychological opposites. It measures extroversion against introversion. It measures, are you intuitive versus are you sensing? It measures, do you think or do you feel? It measures, are you perceiving or judging? Here's what each of those mean. Introversion. How many of you grew up thinking introversion meant you were shy? Introversion actually means you need time to recharge by yourself. As you process information, you process it internally, you think, you observe, and once you've made some sort of decision about the information you've gathered, then you may share it with somebody else. You may not be the most talkative person, but it doesn't mean that you're not thinking, it doesn't mean you're shy, it just means you don't have a lot to say. It doesn't mean you don't have a lot going on. Extroversions. People who are extroverted think through talking. Does anybody know anyone in this room, Kathy, who may think while talking? Extroversions tend not to have an edit button. I'm thinking, I'm spewing. As you're spewing, is there ever a possibility that maybe you say something as you're spewing that you didn't want to say? It happens, right? They're completely different. With extroverts, you know everything. With introverts, you know nothing. On the ends of those spectrums, most people fall somewhere within the middle. Second one, Intuitive versus sensing. How do you take in information? How do you process things you see? What is this?
Red cup. Red cup.
A red cup. Is there anything else?
Empty.
Plastic.
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 Empty.
Is it a future flower pot?
Could be.
Is it a future stencil? A hat for a very small person? Can it be a receptacle to carry things in? Depending upon how you see this determines how you process information. Many people see this as, that's a red cup. You drink out of that red cup. You don't wear it as a hat. Other people see the possibility. Those folks that see the world through an intuitive lens look for the possibility of what might be. Those who see the world through a very sensing lens view the world through their 5 senses. It is what it is. It's plastic, it's hard. If I hit Curtis with it, he's going to get hurt. Right? Very different types of ways to view the world. Now, once you do that, you have to process that information. How do I process? How do I make some decisions about what this thing is? Well, you have 2 different types. You have feelers and you have thinkers. Feelers. I'm a feeler. I don't want to hurt Curtis. I'm not going to hit him with a cup. Because I make decisions from going inside the relationship and making judgments based upon how it's going to impact people. Thinkers, on the other hand, view decisions from outside the relationship. They're very subjective, very logical. Thinkers tend to be thought of as cold. Feelers tend to be thought of as soft. Just different types of processing the world. And lastly, judgers and perceivers. Judgers does not mean you are judgmental. Different thing. Judgers, that means you view the world in a straight line. How many of you live life with a schedule? Nobody. Let me see my accountants out there. Come on. How many of you have a schedule? You know that you have a list of things to do. You know that at 9:15 this morning you're supposed to be somewhere and you know exactly where that is, right? You have a list of chores you probably do. You probably sit down at your desk and say, oh, today I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I said, oh, you know I have 6 things today, right? Right? It's a very straight line approach to life. I'm going to get these things done. I'm going to feel great at the end of the day because I did them. On the other side, perceivers. We don't really make a list. We just view the world as it comes to us. I have things to do today, but what order I get them done in is completely irrelevant. I may do these 6 things, but I may also get distracted and do these other 5 things. Great way to think about that. Look at your to-do list when you go to the grocery store. How many of you look at your list and say, I need to go bop, 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 bop. And how many of you go, ooh, look, something's wrong. Right? 2 different ways of deciphering the world. Folks on one side, frustrate. Folks on the other side. It's going to stay similar through the rest of your life. Take some time, figure out who you are, figure out who those around you are, decipher your world, because no matter where you go, there you are.